Film, I hope you all like Murabba. In India, when I was in India, I really loved the small monkeys on a monkey show, and the little monkeys imitate the scenes from Bollywood films. So this is a very unique phenomenon, I think, and I'd like to ask our guest how far can go this fame of Bollywood stars and the appreciation of the ordinary people.
I think it goes very far in India because this film is unlike any film that I've made. But this is about how the country is obsessed with the film stars and the lengths and they can go to just to meet them. And it is because we have in down south in India, the actors have been the chief ministers, the head of the state for very long. Even right now in Tamil Nadu, the head of the state is a film person. And it is there, and a film actor in India is the face of every product and brand endorsement. And if you see the power list from India, it's always like 20-25% of them are from the film industry. So it's a strange obsession that people have with film actors and film personalities in India. And we make more than 1,000 films a year.
But a big part of obsession is love, just love.
It's love and it's worship, and also like, you know, if like my, say, for example, my favorite actor is Amitabh Bachchan, somebody's favorite actor is, say, Rajnikant, and somebody's favorite actor is Shah Rukh Khan, they also fight with each other about who's best and who's better. It's almost like having football clubs.
Yes. And do they have a do they have a also political influence? It means do they
are
comment
used politically? I often feel that very few of them have political inclinations, and that is not in North India as much as it is down south, because they actually have a point of view and they come from a culture where they have a point of view even when they are actors. But mostly they're often used for political agendas and things.
I see. I was thinking maybe if you would have any questions. I guess you have seen the other film from the homage to our dear guest. If you would like to ask something, if you want. Here, yes, please.
Hi, I would like to ask about the camera. I really liked it. Was it your ideas, or do you have your favorite camera operator you work with?
The camera work?
DOP.
The DOP, yeah.
Yeah.
I work with the same DOP. His name is Rajiv Ravi, and he's also the DOP of Liar's Dice, if you have seen. It was playing in Prague Film Festival. We've been working together for the last 7-8 years. And I think for a long time I wanted a DOP who I could, like, you know, where we could find a harmony. And by harmony I mean like I like to shoot in actual location. In India, India is very different from the rest of the world when it comes to making movies. We don't have to get release forms signed. And what happens is you cannot shoot with a big star on the actual locations. So which is the reason I don't work with big stars many times, because I like to shoot on location. And to shoot on location with the crowd that you saw, for example, when you saw Murabba, it's actually shot in outside Amitabh Bachchan's house. But to shoot outside Amitabh Bachchan's house is a security problem in India, because the traffic is always moving. If you saw all the shots, so we cannot stop the traffic from moving. So we cannot block the road, we cannot block the traffic because it gets crowded. So we have to figure out a way to shoot in a very guerrilla way. So we shoot by hiding our cameras. And our actors are placed in the scenario. And in order to achieve that, you need to work with a cameraman who can work very quietly. And he can never lock the camera, because when you can't really rehearse. So we rehearse off the set, then we come on the location and we hide our cameras and we start shooting, and anything can happen in any moment. So the cameraman has to be flexible, the camera is never locked. It's always instinctive, it's always following around. And most of my movies I've shot like that, because they've been very low cost films with non-star cast shot on actual locations. So most of the movies we shoot like that. So Rajiv Ravi, without Rajiv Ravi, I don't think that I can achieve that. And I've tried working with other cameramen and it's very difficult. For the first time, I tried to work with another cameraman, and that harmony was missing. So I always go back to Rajiv because there's a kind of a thing that you achieve. It's almost like a perfect relationship.
But just to note, it brings to your films something what I would name the spectacular documentarism. That it's really a certain part of the film is like a documentary, and it brings a lot to the film because it's like the very wide reflection of the society and
India is a chaotic country. It's a very chaotic country. We are like 3 billion people in India. We are more populated than the entire Europe, and there are people everywhere on the street. And it's difficult to walk, and there are traffic jams of people, not cars, in India. So,
but this is
shooting in an atmosphere like that, and that whole chaos, I like to shoot that. So I have done that very often. I put my actors in there. I can't do it if I have a star.
I see.
I have to work with an unknown face.
So this is something what is not part of the Bollywood style.
It is not,
we
but
can't
this is
see that in Bollywood
this is
films.
something that we discovered by chance.
By chance.
Because what happened when I was making Black Friday, this we discovered in Black Friday. When I was making Black Friday, we had very low cost to work with. And I was very naive. I wanted to shoot on exactly the places where the events took place. It's a kind of a stubborn thing that I had as a idealist filmmaker, that I will go and shoot exactly where it happened. And what was the problem was the event took place in '93 and I was shooting the film in 2003. In 10 years, India had changed. In 10 years, post-globalization, there was a satellite television boom. In India, we have like more than 200, 300 channels. So if you see, the skyline had changed completely. The skyline was with the hoardings of television channels, programs, and everybody was carrying mobile phones. That did not exist in '93, but 2003, everybody had that. So we had to figure out a way of shooting where we could avoid all that. We did not have the money to hire a crowd to fill the street. We did not have money to, in the post-production, erase all those hoardings. So we figured out a way of, we started finding the actual streets, and we started finding a place where we could hide the camera on the first floor. So if you see entire Black Friday, the vantage point is like this. It's never looking that way. It's always looking that way. And so from a distance with a long zoom lens, we started shooting the film with it's like a zoom lens that they use for National Geographic. So we started using those kind of zooms and started shooting from far away and always shooting from the first floor. So we are almost like on an eye level, but we started shooting like this to avoid the skyline. And we would put our actors in the crowd, our own team members in the crowd, that if anybody by chance takes out a mobile phone, you have to just somehow cover him up. So actors were always looking around like this, and if anybody took out a mobile phone, they would just do something in front of it to hide it. So, and that's how we discovered that there's a possibility of shooting without money. And since we have been trained to shoot without money for the longest time, we never had money to make a movie. So we started shooting that way, and that's how Gulal was shot. We would go every Diwali because we didn't have money to light up, and the scenes were in the night. So Diwali is the festival of lights where the city would be lit up. So for 8 years, every Diwali the actors would travel in a train together, and we would go there and shoot with available light. This is why the film looks beautiful, because it's lit up naturally. Everybody lit up their homes. So you see those lights, that's not our direction, that's not, that was there. And we put our actors in the location to start shooting. And in 8 years, by the end of the 8th year, when we finished the film, the cost of the film was still $400,000. So it really did not cost any money.
I think that it's really amazing part of your directorial style, and gives emotions. It is the dynamics of India and reflection of this turbulent and amazing India, incredible India. Okay, so. Yeah.
I have a question, for your upcoming film, Bombay Velvet, it starts like the huge, big stars, for the first time in your filmmaking career. So, was the filmmaking process any different from your previous?
Did you face any? No, because this new movie that I'm doing is actually, the budget of the film is more than the combined budget of all the films I've directed and produced together.
Is it true that it's produced by Danny Boyle?
No.
No, okay.
So what has happened is, and because since we're used to a kind of a naturalism and chaos, and with the stars, to get the money we needed stars. But with the stars I can't shoot on actual locations, and the film is set in the 60s. So we created massive sets, and after creating massive sets we needed to create the chaos. So it was a strange exercise. We still shot the film with hidden cameras on the sets, but we had to create an actual chaos. So you will feel the same energy in the film. But to achieve that, it took us a long time and took us a lot of money. We shot the movie in Sri Lanka. We created Bombay in Sri Lanka because India, we rebuild everything so fast. We don't preserve our own architecture and history. So if I have to go back for Black Friday, I had to go back 10 years and I had to shoot it like that. Imagine if I have to go back 40 years, I had to completely rebuild the city. I had to rebuild an entire city because of the story of the city.
What is your comment on subtitling? Because when I was watching the movie, I read the English subtitles, and the actual essence of the movie is lost somewhere.
It always gets lost.
Yeah, because you're showing it on so many international platforms.
No, it is difficult. Some films we achieve it. Like I think it's subtitling is an art. I think to retain the essence of the culture and of the nuances of the language is very difficult sometimes to achieve. I don't know, somehow I found it very easy because the very strange reactions I felt with Ugly. Because the difference between the English subtitles of Ugly and the French subtitles of Ugly was huge, which was in the reviews when the movie was screened in Cannes. The French subtitles was I don't know, I don't understand French, but it was done so well, it caught the nuances and they got the film as it was meant to be. Whereas in English, they missed those nuances. I think there's a gap there, and we have been like with every film we try to achieve more and more. With every film, if you see the weakest subtitles actually are in Black Friday and Gulal, and with the best probably is with Gangster of Wasseypur and Ugly and Lunchbox. So it's slowly improving, and we are trying to get there. Because we in India our films never used to travel so much abroad. So the people who do subtitles are actually people who just directly translate. So we have started working with authors. Like now we are working with Jerry Pinto, who's a famous Indian author, who we have got him to kind of start doing it, to do subtitling.
So you personally sit with
We personally sit with Jerry, Earlier it was the government that used to do subtitling on behalf of the filmmakers. And nobody really cared. It was like bureaucracy at that time. It was really that somebody's job was there and they would use the dictionary, and it was a dictionary translation, and people would laugh at the wrong places.
And especially it gets even more tough with the lyrics, because in India we have like songs and stuff. It's actually difficult to...
You have mentioned Gulal, so when I was reading about the film, I found it's just the detail, but it was very surprising. I think it was Gulal, the award for the best negative role. Is it a real? Is it a real award in Indian Academy?
In Indian awards are television shows, and we don't have one award function. We have like 50 award functions, and it's like they just want people to come, so they create categories. Various categories so that everybody can.
This is the one of them, yeah?
So like everybody is happy. They believe in pleasing everyone. So they will give him an award for the man with the best hair, and they'll give him the award for the man with the best shirt. So, but they'll give an award to everyone, so everyone.
A lot of awards, yes.
See, we are a film-obsessed country, and we have so many award functions because when the award shows are telecast on television, our award shows last 4 hours to 5 hours. And when they're telecast on television, they go on for 6-7 hours. And people leave all their work to sit down and watch it. And it's big revenue for television because we have some 5-6 different television channels dedicated to gossip about film stars. So it's a country that I'm coming from. It's a very different culture and country that we come from. To make the kind of films we make, we have to be we are walking a very thin line.
The popularity of Bollywood cinema is every year higher and higher in Europe. I guess in the United States, in Prague, we have the Festival of Bollywood Cinema and a Festival of Bollywood Dance. What do you think? Why it's so?
I think because it's very different from rest of the world. In the sense, our cinema, if you look at it in the sense, our cinema is mostly about celebration. It's
And
about everything.
relax.
They make very happy films. But you know, the one good thing that, like, most of the times I disagree with the kind of cinema they make. But for me, I live off that. Because, you know, I think ours is the most healthy film industry in the world. Because unlike, see, a lot of filmmaking is dying out in most parts of Europe. Because filmmakers actually depend on institutional funding. And 5 different filmmakers are vying for the same fund. And one gets it, so one makes a film. In India, if 5 filmmakers are trying to make a film, and they all have a good script, they all will make a film. Because our funding is actually private funding. So people invest in movies, everybody likes to participate in movies, and because everybody's stake is involved, they actually care whether the film is watched or not. I have incredible filmmaking friends, some great filmmakers, who I think, like say for example, Fatih Akin, who should be making more films than I am making, but he has not made a film in 5 years because he doesn't have the money to make a film.
I see.
And we are helping so many filmmakers to make films in India because it's easier to find money in India because we release the film, we go out there and, you know, the film makes money and the money comes back to everyone. And my biggest complaint that I've heard from filmmakers from Europe, and the great filmmakers, I'm talking about very known filmmakers, say for example Danis Stanovic, who made No Man's Land. We have produced his new film. He could not find money for 7 years. I produced the film. I said, if you shoot in India, I'll raise the money. And we did that. But the reason being that, and he now doesn't want to leave India. He says, I want to make films in India. Simply because a filmmaker actually makes a film every year. I make a film every year. I've finished with my next film. While Ugly is not yet released in India, I have a television show that's coming out. And we always have it easier to find the money. And the money actually comes back to us and to the studio. What happens largely in most parts of the world, especially Europe and South America and some of the countries where they're funded by the institutions, the money comes from a fund. It never goes back there. So fund is slowly drying out. And the money, when taken from the fund, is put into a movie. People work on a movie and they all get a kind of a percentage of salary on it. And they're content with it. When the film makes money, the most money is made by the sales agent. It does not go back to the fund. It does not go back to the producer. So because of which slowly it kind of is becoming like now there are lesser and lesser films being made.
In the history of Bollywood, there is a certain period, I guess it's past, was the financing Bollywood films through mafia? Yeah,
it has gone through many phases. First it was the loan sharks. Earlier Bollywood films were funded by people, borrowed money from people who would loan money. And then in between there was a phase where mafia was interested in the film. Then that was eradicated. Then came in the Hollywood studios and big studio system. Now it's literally like the whole world wants to make movies in India.
Okay, your question, please.
Sorry. The films in the beginning of your career were banned by the government. They were censored, not released them.
Louder, please, because
I'm saying censorship is a problem we face all the time. Right now, there's a very strange rule that we have that every film and all the smoking scenes, we have to put a disclaimer that cigarette smoking is injurious to health. It's like it's on a cigarette pack, we put it on our movies. And because of which Woody Allen refused to release all his films in India, and most filmmakers are taking that stand. And we are fighting that in the court. But it is because, you know, cinema being having such a big fan base, cinema is also the soft target for everything in India. So to create any kind of a controversy, if you create it using a cinema person, you get massive media coverage. And because of which everybody is always affected. The problem is with the bureaucracy is they don't want to keep attending courts on behalf of various films where they have cleared. So what they do instead is they tell the filmmakers, take it out from the film. Instead of protecting the artist, they tell the artist that delete it. But that's something that you have to fight. I've always fought that. And I believe that, you know, every time there's a strong censorship, there's some great cinema that comes out of it, because you have to circumvent the system. Like the film that have far worse censorship, the countries, they're actually making such great cinema in the Middle East.
It's getting better? Like
It is getting better. The society is actually getting better, because for the longest period we were so moralistic about everything that in India, my first film was banned because of one masturbation scene in the film. And the reason given to me by the censor board was Indians don't masturbate. So at least we have grown up from there to now. Now until unless there is nudity on screen, they don't react. They will cut out the nudity from screen. They don't allow nudity in India. And I have actually got a lot cleared. If you see Gangs of Wasseypur, a film like Gangs of Wasseypur 10 years back would have been banned. And a film like Devdi would not have ever cleared the censor board, simply because people were offended by one sequence where the girl, when she's going to meet her lover in the fields, she takes the mattress on a bicycle herself, and they were so offended by that shot. So I'm saying we have progressed from there. We have new kind of problems. Now the problems are political. They can't deal with sexuality right now in India. They still find it difficult to deal with sexuality on screen. Like I remember at a festival when Montreux's Antichrist showed, there were like political protests, and they kind of tore down the posters and they broke down the window panes and the glasses, because the poster of Antichrist had Charlotte Gainsbourg with so many hands, and they were so offended by it. That now the problems are political. And it's always manipulated by various political parties, but you have to fight that. We have been fighting a lot of things. If you see Queen, there's a very strange thing happened in Queen. Since I was the producer, I was facing the censor board, and there was a sequence where the woman takes off her bra from under her t-shirt and throws it, and she said, you can't put the bra outside because it's very sexual. And we argued about it. So they said, okay, but the bra is red, can you make it white? So finally, when the film came out, the censor board blurred the bra. So in the whole sequence, when you see, when she takes out her bra, she's got something blurred in her hand. Blurred. And that thing is moving. It's very strange. It's strange and archaic, and you don't understand the logic of it. Because they were offended by the color red, because they thought red was much more sexual.
But
then it will be more sensual.
Yeah, no, but that's a argument and a fight that have to go on, because
When you blur, then you actually get attracted more.
yeah, it does, but they don't understand that. But when they got that later on, so now the new rule has come that, okay, no more blurring, just cut it out.
But it's the cultural history of India. It's not about the banning sexuality.
All these things are mostly political, because you have to understand. It's a different. What is happening is, why the censor board functions that way. There are a lot of liberal people in the censor board, and in India, the film goes for censorship only in the week of the release. In India, if I finish shooting today, I'm releasing my film next month. It happens that fast. There's no space to fight it. So people give in. Second, the political parties like to control the cinema. So there's a lot of political appointees in the censor board. So the political appointees are always like, creating issues. But the non-political appointees actually are reasonable people. You can actually argue with them. It depends on what kind of jury you get. So like what we do is, we don't go at the last moment. If I finish my film, I'll take long time before I release it. I'll go through the whole process before I release the film. And because it's politically motivated, it doesn't matter if our history was Khajuraho or our history was Kama Sutra. It really does not matter, because that actually will affect the entire agenda of the conservatives and everything, because they actually, the whole political agendas thrive on the basis of that. At least 4 out of 5 parties thrive on the basis of controlling all those things. So the whole point will be lost. So they're not going to let that happen. We have to find a way around it, and we are slightly inching forward. It's not that we are going backwards. We are inching forward.
Because sensuality and the beauty of the body and all these things, it is the Indian.
It is absolutely
part of Indian aesthetics and tradition.
But I think, after we got our independence from the British, that Victorian morality has become our own morality now. it's a kind of a mixed, confused morality between the Victorian morality and the Hindu.
And the Muslim Islamic past, no? This is no influence. I mean the.
I don't think so, because there is a. I think in India they have all learned to coexist. Every time there are situations like riots and things, they're again all politically created and motivated. I don't think so. In India, a Muslim and a Hindu will have a problem with each other until unless it's a situation which is, and it's always close to the elections, or always close to somewhere where somebody has actually fanned those kind of hatreds and things, and they actually mostly are political in nature.
It's also the huge group of Bollywood stars are Muslims, or Shah Rukh Khan's. So it is quite surprising for me.
Bollywood stars have no religion.
Have no religion.
It doesn't matter which religion, which country they belong to, because the biggest female star is Katrina Kaif, who's actually not an Indian, who's actually not. She adopted an Indian surname. She's not. She's the biggest star.
We have also Czech star Jana Gupta.
Yeah.
She's Czech.
Yeah, she's Czech. Jana Gupta.
She's Czech. Yeah. Okay. So the film map of India. We know that Bollywood is just the part of film map of India.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about the other?
See, Bollywood is what the world
centers?
talks about, but Indian cinema is much more beyond Bollywood. There is a down south. There's Malayalam. They make films actually in more than 32 languages, but the strongest industries are Tamil industry. Telugu industries actually makes more money than Bollywood industry. The mainstream movies make more money.
Yeah.
It's a much more healthier industry. There's Tamil industry that is actually making all kinds of films successful. So their art house and their parallel movies are far more successful than the ones in Hindi. Then there's Tamil, and now there's a new cinema that's emerging in Marathi, which is very strong and has a very strong voice. Some of the best filmmakers are in Marathi and Tamil right now, and they are making strong box office as well, and they're also traveling to festivals. But these four cinemas are very healthy, but they don't get very talked about because Bollywood's kind of overpowers the perception of the man outside. And also, barring a Marathi industry, most of the South industries suffer from the fact that they have this insecurity with the exhibition and the distribution space. So those films don't travel abroad. There's a Telugu film called Iga. It's a genre film that came out 1.5 years back that actually had the potential to be that genre film from India that could have traveled everywhere. But people discovered it 1 year after it was released. So Iga is being shown now in various festivals where it is so late and the rights have already been sold off to someone else. So in the sense, even in that zone, in the genre zone, which is not art house, the films suffer because of the insecurity of the producer and the distributors. And a lot of good films actually from down south get lost. They think a film goes to a festival, it'll get pirated and they'll lose their revenue. So they don't let the films out. But Marathi, there's a kind of a confidence in there, and they let the film. And Marathi cinema does not cost so much money, so they're much more secure about it. So that cinema does travel.
Last question.
Last question. Yes.
As an artist, how do you keep yourself bounded to a film for 8 years? How was your journey? Like, did your thought process change, or how did it affect the film?
I don't know. I think I don't do a film that I don't want to do, and when I want to do it, I'll do it at any cost. I think that's the only bond that we have with our work, and it's actually much more simpler and easier because we have formed companies and so many other people are doing the other thing. It was difficult when I was doing the producing and everything myself. Now I just focus on my film. I write my movies and I go and make my movies. So now life has become much more focused. Earlier we had to do everything, but we had no other choice but to do that. It's like not having a choice but to be with that movie for 8 years if I had to make it. So it actually always comes from not having a choice.
Those limitations made the film.
Those limitations, and we discover so much. I think is the journey that's actually very important. I know filmmakers who have stayed with an idea for years before they actually made it. I know of our famous movies, like say for example a Hollywood movie like Dallas Buyers Club. The writer wrote it 18 years ago, and he stayed with it till the film got made. You have to, in the sense that there's no other way of doing something if you don't think that it is, your life depends on it. That's the only way to do anything, I think.
Okay. We were listening very carefully, and we'll put down all the recommendations to Tamil cinema and Marathi, and I hope that in the future we'll have
also Bengali cinema. I forgot
Bengali cinema. We hope that in the next years of Karlovy Vary we'll have a chance
Bengali cinema was very potentially very powerful earlier. Now it's more commercial, but still it exists. I think there's a coexistence in there.
Okay, so
thank you so much.
So we will wait for your new films in Karlovy Vary, and I hope that we will have a chance to see them in the future, and we wish you good luck. Thank you very much for amazing films.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.